G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this mandolin lesson, we're going to take a look at the second installment of the fill licks here on the mandolin. In the first lesson, we had a look at several licks and some movable scale patterns and arpeggios that we're using to create those licks. In this lesson, we're going to follow that up using the same scale patterns and arpeggio patterns. We're moving up the neck a little further, but they're all movable again. And we're going to take a look at 6 different licks, combining them with some chop patterns and throwing in a little bit of variation with some double stops as well. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the first 2 licks here in this video lesson. But if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you're going to find yourself a copy of the tablature that we're working on that contains all 6 lick variations. You'll also find the second part of this lesson where we do break down the next 4 licks as well and talk about how we can use those. If you haven't already checked it out, check out part 1 of this lesson. We do break down the scale shapes and the different patterns we're using, and there are several other licks you can learn there as well. So that's also available at pickinglessons.com. All right, let's have a slow play through the first 2 licks and then let's break them down and refresh the scale patterns that we're using. Lick number 1. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2. Lick number 2. 1 and 2 and 3. One, 2, and. Alright, so there's the first 2 lick ideas. So that first one is relatively short. And at this point here, we're using it over the F chord shape, which is the 1 chord in this chord progression. And you may recognize the tune, Banks of the Ohio. So we're over the F chord up the neck. And the great thing about all these licks is they're around our chop chord shapes. So make sure you know your chop chords up the neck here. But there's your F. And there's that first lick. So chopping away, melody stops. And so we can use that around that particular shape. That's the first idea, nice and short. It works against that chord. We could use it against other chords too. If we're playing over the C shape here in the same position, if you want to play C down the neck, or F down the neck, take your pick. They're all movable. It's just a matter of attaching it to your chop chord. So there's lick 1, and that's using some of the major pentatonic scale with that flat 3 in there that we learned in the first lesson, and some of the blues scale as well. And this particular pattern here is really around that major blues scale. So do head over to pickinglessons.com for the first part of this lesson if you're not sure about these scales. We're really just looking at these couple of licks at the moment here in this lesson. Lick number 2. Lick number 2. Over the C chord at this point in the tune. It could be used over any of the chords though. So we're over our C shape. Fingering on this one, we're coming out of our second finger there in the chop chord, going to kick off that lick. Back to your third finger, first finger. And here we're into a combination of this hybrid scale that we've been talking about, the Mixolydian blues that we learned in the first part of this lesson. And it's kind of combining the minor pentatonic scale or the blues scale and the major pentatonic scale in that same position. And we get this hybrid scale, the Mixolydian blues scale. And that's where this lick fits in, around our C chord at this particular time. Coming out of our minor third into the major third. So some really interesting sounds. So lick number 1. Lick number 2. This could be used down the neck, so C down the neck. Or over a different chord, try it over a G. So the great thing about these movable lick ideas, but attaching them to your chord position, so your chop chords, and using some movable scale shapes that we've learnt, can really get you around every key you need. And these ideas are just starting points. Once you know the scale patterns and your arpeggio as well, for each of the chord shapes, then you can start to go about coming up with some of these ideas for yourself and learning variations, or taking a little idea, then tweaking it in a different way, making it fit in the context you've got to play. So we're working around the vocal as well, so the melody, we're not trying to get too much in the way at the moment. You can play under the melody and whatnot if you're sort of staying out of the way a little bit, but we're trying to stay in the middle of the vocal phrases at the moment, and a little bit of chopping in between. Okay, so when you've got those two licks, head on over to pickinglessons.com. We'll check out the next 4 together, and we'll keep following up these scale shapes we're using, but do check out the first part of this fill lick lesson, and we do learn the scale shapes and the arpeggios in that as well. pickinglessons.com, I'll see you there.